Hi, I'm Brad,
And I'm Kelsey.
and we're at BK Book Club.
Whoop whoop.
Today we are drinking a lovely Leorn Barbera d'Asti. I don't know how to say it, but it goes really well, or is supposed to go really well with tomato soup, which is what we had for dinner tonight because Kelsey made.
I made grilled cheese and tomato soup. Shout out to my friend Skylar because I was at her house one day and she was making her girls grilled cheese and made me one and it was delicious. So now I'm making it her way.
Which tonight was fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do a quick recap. We are reading the final chapters of A Court of Mist and Fury. And in these chapters, we go over Feyre's increasing connection with Rhysand. Or it's Rhysand, right? Rhysand. Yeah, Rhysand. We have the looming threat of Hybern, the assault on Hybern, Tamlin's betrayal, that son of a bitch.
Dun, dun, dun.
Feyre's clever manipulation, which makes me want to read the next books.
And you get to start tonight. I have to wait till tomorrow.
Oh no, I'll wait until tomorrow.
Oh.
I will, because this is going to run late tonight. So I'm going to probably take an edible before you leave and go to bed. So
Love that.
we also are going to go over the Cauldron's Power. We finally get to see it.
Yeah.
I also would like to take full accountability. I was wrong. The last episode I had said I didn't think that they were going to get the other half of the book. They did. And the final cliffhanger.
Dun, dun, dun.
So continue to watch. Please feel free to get involved. Send us some comments. Let us know what your thoughts were on the end of the book. We're going to dive into it. But first, let's do a little recap. How was your week?
Good. I was in a wedding in Charlotte.
No, I'm so excited to hear about it because we haven't chatted about it yet.
It was really good. I surprise, I cried.
Can't believe that.
I actually got to the first night I was there because I got on Wednesday. I got to see a girlfriend that I haven't seen in
Forever.
10 plus years.
Yeah.
We used to do a spotlight cheer together. Shout out to my spotlight people. But yeah, so we just got to have dinner and that was really nice. Just catching up and learning about the woman she is now versus.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine there's two people back home. And when I hate saying back home because it doesn't feel like home anymore.
Right.
But back where I grew up, there are two people that still live there that I feel like would be the type of people, like if I bumped, and I haven't seen them in person in years. I'm talking like maybe 20-ish years. And I feel like, oh no, that's not accurate. Probably 15-ish years. But I feel like if I bumped into them now, it would just be interesting to sit down and because one of them specifically has 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not like babies, they're like teenagers.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, and I feel like there's different people that you haven't talked to since, high school.
High school, yeah.
That era. And you're like, yeah, I really actually never meet. Like if you ran into them and be like, oh, good to see you. See you later.
You have that issue more than I do. You run into people
and now there's like definitely people where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Like I
genuinely interested.
Yeah.
In
one of my friends, Amira, we were like super, super close in middle school. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we were still friends up until like I went to college, Colorado, not college.
Same thing.
But you just grow apart and then there's people that you're like, oh, there's reasons we grew apart.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you can tell from Facebook.
Yeah.
Whether
there's
your
probably
mindsets, your beliefs, your values, all of that is the same.
Oh, I definitely stopped following a lot of people and like blocked people on Facebook.
Definitely unfriending.
Oh yeah, I've definitely done, especially not this election, but the previous election. I definitely did a cleanse, which was necessary.
I'm fine with having.
I just want to make sure that this is recording us talking because that would suck if it's not.
Is this finish?
No, that's what I'm looking for is that light right there. Mm-hmm. But I also don't want us to stare at ourselves. So
yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Like there's people that I have different opinions with things on and it's fine. But I think there's a difference between having different beliefs and like saying hateful things
just to say hateful
things.
Yeah.
about like, do I post my political opinions on my like Instagram stories? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But it's not typically like hating on
And also, you're open to
people.
have a conversation.
I'm always open to have I actually would love to have a conversation just to be like,
Yeah.
how is this what you are thinking?
Not to get too far off on a tangent, but right before I moved out of Florida, I like went to the gay club that I used to work at and was like, oh, I'm just gonna have a drink or two before I like take off, like just like the last like I literally went to the club, got in my car and drove to Oregon. But while I was there, there was this guy. He was a super attractive guy. Of course he was. This super attractive guy who was a gay Trump supporter. And I was like, I just want to sit down. I was like, I'm not passing any judgment. I'm trying to come to this with an open mind and just be like willing to try and hear your side. I was like, so let's have an actual genuine discussion.
I actually want to
Yeah.
know how you came to this spot. Because I feel about that way with like women or people of color.
It might be yours. We'll unplug yours and
It's just
there you go. Women and people of color is
women,
what she said.
yes,
just in case
women
anyone
and
didn't hear
people
that.
of color that are like Trump supporters. I just don't super understand it because everything that
He's done.
he's done or the people that he surrounds himself with or their new project
We're not going to
fights
go
against
too
that.
far off the
Yeah, but like
tangent.
fights against it. So it's hard for me to understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, wedding.
I was going to say, how was the rest of your week?
She did keep because we were talking and she would be like, Elsie, we are in the South. Just bring it down a little bit. I'm like, you're right. So it's really good seeing her. And then we just did like wedding activities. I did get pretty drunk on Thursday. Like
before your birthday kind of drunk? Or?
No.
Okay.
No, like I had, 6 ciders.
Which is funny. Like Kelsey's not a drinker. Like
I'm
the
not a
fact that she
drinker.
consistently drinks wine with me for these is fun because she doesn't drink that much.
I mean, 2 glasses of wine isn't drinking.
No, I know. But the night before her birthday, every time anybody went to get a drink, she was like, I'll take one too.
Look, people would say, do you want another one? It was not, hey, I will take one.
There was a moment she was two-fisting it.
It was my birthday week. How am I supposed to say no when people came out to hang out for my birthday and said, do you want a drink?
Were you on time for your event the next day?
You know what? I rallied hard. I feel like we need to appreciate that more.
We do. And I feel like we've actually discussed this because we talked about this, I think, in the first episode, but it was still, it's just a fond memory.
We did because it was right after. Yeah. No, it was more like, it was my perfect level, like of tipsy, but like enough that I did leave my phone number for the bartender.
Oh, I love this. See, I was hoping I was going to see you before you left so that you could bring stickers. And just leave them with people.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you are in the South. It's probably not the most. It's got to be your cord. It's that cord. But it's not terrible. It's just like every once in a while, a little bit of static when it comes in.
But yeah.
When did you get home?
Monday.
She was in Tennessee, y'all. Just so
I was actually in North Carolina.
Oh, I thought you were in Tennessee.
That was the bachelor party. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Oh yeah. Did you have any of the hurricane stuff?
No.
So we are recording this currently right after Milton just hit Florida. So thoughts and prayers to everybody in Florida, especially because yesterday was rough for me. I was very much on edge all day just because it was a massive storm heading straight for where I lived in Pinellas County. So it made a direct hit just south of Pinellas County in Sarasota County, which is where like Siesta Key is where it hit.
I know, it's crazy seeing
all the video and stuff that I'm seeing in like Tropicana Field. I've been there. I used to do work events there. So like
that's insane.
The whole roof is gone. Then a crane collapsed in downtown St. Pete and took out an office building.
Did you see the Lieutenant Dan?
Yeah, survived.
That's good.
He did fine. He said that he barely spilt his coffee is what he said. God love him.
He's like, you know what? You guys can all leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to chill.
Quite a few of my friends stayed.
Dude, I feel like a lot of people stayed, according to TikTok. Everyone, which I get because people have animals and they have
Yeah,
like
and I mean,
farm
unfortunately, we
animals.
live in a lifetime and a society where, like, you, especially one of my friends, is a business owner, and she stayed because her business is there. So your livelihood is at stake there.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, the people that I know that I'm close with that stayed all live outside of the evacuation zone. But even like my best friend, who was my previous roommate, who lives in evacuation zone D, left, and evacuations were mandatory up to C. So he hasn't been home yet, so we don't know if there's any destruction or anything at the house. But here's hoping that there's nothing wrong. But at the same time, it's just I'm just glad everybody that I know, and I haven't seen anything about a death toll. I did see that one woman died from a falling limb.
Mm.
I also saw that a worker today died while clearing out debris because another person wasn't paying attention while they were driving and crashed into him. Yeah, but that was in northern Florida. But it's just
No, it
I
didn't reach Charlotte. Charlotte
no,
was,
because it would have been Helen, right? That would have headed up that way around
I think it's Helene,
Helene, whatever.
but yeah.
Helen, Helene.
Yeah, no. And when we were landing in Charlotte, we landed at like 7, and there was some people on the plane talking that they're from Ashland, and Ashland got hit really
Yeah,
hard.
Ashland got hit hard.
And he said that he had to stay in Charlotte that night because he wouldn't make it home before curfew because they were like on a curfew.
Yeah. I was
So
surprised
sad.
that they had because of Helene,
I don't know. I just thought that I heard Helene.
the barrier islands were closed to the public up until like Thursday of last week. And
Is this?
then they got closed again on Monday of this week because of Milton coming through.
Yeah.
So hopes, thoughts, prayers. Glad everyone, or for the most part, most people are safe. Just
Yeah.
things can be replaced, people cannot.
Yeah.
So here's hoping. But and what day did you get back?
Monday at 10:30. I basically slept 0 the whole time.
I believe it.
Well, and I love you, Sam. You know that. It was me and Anastasia sharing, and our friend Sam all sharing a hotel room. He snores
Oh no.
more than I've ever, and like we told him, and I'm like, you need to like go to the doctor.
You got some sleep apnea, friend. You got a deviated septum.
And he was like, yeah, because me and Anastasia both were like, it was. I usually I put on my like ASMR
Yeah.
to fall asleep, but if I woke up, that's when it was hard to go back to
Yeah.
sleep. And then flew to Denver Sunday night, slept at DIA, got my watch stolen.
Oh no.
And then got in at 10:30 a.m.
Nice. Yeah, I'm leaving for Pittsburgh next Wednesday. Technically, it's Thursday because my flight leaves at 11:59 p.m. Wednesday night.
I was like, it's a red eye.
Yeah, we're taking a red eye, and
So red eyes are I think we've talked about this too, that like a guy was like, this is my first red eye. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, because I'm from the West Coast.
yeah, exactly.
So
Like going from the
like a
West Coast to the
normal
East
thing.
Coast, it's just easier to take a red eye.
Mhm.
And it also because our friends so
I feel like it's cheaper and it gives you a bit more time.
well. And I'm not planning on sleeping on Thursday just because until everyone goes to bed at a decent time that night. But like, which I've done before, because I've gone to the East Coast multiple times. Because it's not me going from here to the middle of the country. It's me going from Oregon to either Florida or Boston. So
I feel like it just sometimes it happens that way that you just know.
yeah, I'm like
You're
already
not gonna
pre-planning
sleep
for it,
and
and
it's fine.
I can't sleep on planes. I
Nope.
have tried.
Even in the airport, that's why I said like I slept. They have a new like sleeping area, but a lot of the chairs are like ones like this, like your
Oh yeah.
or like very short couches, like,
Oh yeah.
and there's only a few long ones, so I didn't get a long couch until like 4 a.m. and my flight was at 7 or 8. Sorry, 8. So I only got to
Snooze.
snooze, for a while, for a little bit. But how was your week?
My week was good. What did I do this week? I dog sat, which is
Nice.
part of the course. But guys, look, we're at my place. It's the first time since the first episode. that we recorded
No.
from, the first 2 episodes we recorded here, and I have been everywhere
Oh.
else since.
Okay.
Yeah, the intro episode where we introduced the club to everybody, and then the first episode of A Court
Which
Thorns and
did we
Roses,
film the same day?
we filmed them all on the same day. So it was all in
I
one
thought
sitting.
we have filmed here 2 different days, but
No.
maybe, I mean, you would know.
No, this is the first time since A Court of Thorns and Roses that we've been here, and it's the end of this book.
Yeah. Are we going to
Um,
be here next week?
we are going to be here next week.
Because we were supposed to be at my place this week, but
She hasn't
I
had
just
time.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we're here.
And then so I dog sat on this past weekend, which was nice. While you were gone, which I hate when so I only hang out with 4 people now. And when one of you guys is out of town, I'm just and everybody else is busy, I'm just I need
It's
more
just,
friends. But then I'm I don't want more
I don't
friends.
want more friends.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't do much. I just waited for you to get home, read the rest of this book. I actually read the rest of the book in
It's just,
one sitting, but I took a break. I know. I did it the day after we recorded the last episode because I was like, "Ooh, I just really want to know what's going to happen." And then now, of course, I have been clenching my fists because I want to read the next book so bad because the cliffhanger at the end of this book is so insane. So I say we get into
I was
it.
going to say with that.
Yes. Before we get into it, I just want to lay some ground rules. My thought was that we would just go through what I have for the breakdown for chapter by chapter or it's up to you. I'm good to go either way. We go through the notes that you have, go through the notes that I have, and then look through and see if we missed anything.
It's just, I feel like
Or do you want more direction with the chapter
No.
breakdown?
I don't really care either, because I feel like mine is more like commentary.
Okay, so
But it's really whatever you want. What do you think is best?
let's just start with. See, the way that this broke down chapter 41, I don't think is correct, but
Like if we do, where are your notes?
my notes are right here. So in episode 8, we talked about how much Reese was giving hints that he loved her and how much. Come to find out the big reveal.
Which, who said it?
Yeah, they are.
And who said he'd known
mates.
for a while?
Thoughts on this being the twist when the series starts with her being with Tamlin?
Well, I didn't think it was much of a twist because once
I know you were foretelling it for a while, but I think that
once I hated Tamlin,
yeah,
I was like, that bitch gotta go.
There was only really one way to go from there, and it was to get rid of Tamlin. But it's interesting. So something that and I feel like I remember talking about this in the last episode, either in the last episode or the episode before that, where I said, what if all along Tamlin was the bad guy?
Yeah.
And I don't want to give too much away because I want to go through everything we have to talk about before we get to the end, where the cliffhanger in that final couple of chapters when they're at the fucking castle in High.
Yeah. Well, I feel like back, maybe it wasn't on our episodes, but when Rhysand first got introduced in the first book in the Fire Fest, when I was Snapchatting Mackenzie and Sarah, I did say, I was like, is this a new man of hers? Is this a love interest? Because she said, it's the most beautiful man I have ever seen, which must have been the mating bond.
Yeah.
But I literally was like, is this a new man for her? So Mackenzie and Sarah, you can back me up. I've been calling it since
day one.
Since day one.
Before we dive too deep in
baby.
that, I figure since this is kind of like the vibe that we're doing, I'm just gonna kind of breeze through what I have for notes.
Okay.
We'll have a little commentary on the side, and then from there we'll look into the deeper dive and actually dig into each chapter.
Okay.
So the next thing that I have on my list is let's talk about the encounter with Lucian, and I'm talking about specifically when she's in the woods.
Oh, when he's wanting her to go,
and she's winnows. Finally on demand.
I was literally like,
and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, guess what? Somebody actually let me train. Somebody actually stood up and was on my side.
I know, and it kind of made there is a part of me that still feels for Lucian.
Same.
I still have a little soft spot for him, and I'm just like, I hope he's okay.
His ass. Is that me? Do I need to?
You don't worry. I work around you.
Story of everyone's life in my life. Sorry.
I noticed that I had this down too much when
Okay.
when I was editing the last time.
I can talk really loud.
You can, but it's fine. I'm good at I'm getting the hang of editing around you. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, y'all, if anybody needs content creators, I know a guy. So the next thing that Lucian experience, like
that was crazy, especially because he kept going for her, and she was like,
and I was a little, and she's like, "Don't you dare touch me," and I was like,
dare.
and I still feel so bad for him, just because I think that he's trapped, and there's a thing that I wrote in here and a little bit later on, where I'm kind of like wondering if that second part of the curse that we still eluded from, no idea what's going on yet.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering if, and I'm just going to breeze to this because it's at the end of my list because I thought about it today while I was typing everything up. But what if the second part of that curse is that Tamlin has to marry her in order to prevent him from going insane? Like there's a part of the curse that actually
I mean, bye. Sorry.
No, I know, but I feel like, but that curse affected the entire court.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it has repercussions for the entire court, aside from their High Lord being a fucking schizo.
Frick.
Yeah, that part. But I'm still curious. I still want to know what and if she never addresses it in any of the books, I'm going to rage quit. What the fuck? Don't have this cliffhanger.
From what I'm told, the Court of Wings and Ruin kind of wraps up
a lot of
what we've been reading, and then it's like a novella, and then the other fifth book is actually from somebody else's POV, which my guess is going to be Nesta and Cassian.
Yeah, because the next book after the Wings and whatever the next book after Wings and Ruin is like Frost and Starlight or something like that, but it's tiny.
Yeah, one of my.
I'm like, we're gonna read it in one episode.
Sitting, yeah.
Which we're not even gonna get into it. We'll get into that in a minute. I was gonna start going into how much we're gonna read in the next book, but we're not gonna do that
at the end.
My next thing that I put was, let's talk about the second encounter with the queens. Do we think they have all foreshadowing, mind you? And this is before me reading the rest of the book. I said, let's talk about the second encounter with the queens. Do we think they've always been in cahoots with the King of Hybern? Is that how they got the power to winnow? And I didn't read which, spoiler alert, obviously, at the end of the book, the queens are in cahoots with the King of Hybern.
Right.
But I wrote it and I was like, that's got to be how they got their power.
Yeah.
And the reason that they're being so cagey.
Yeah.
And especially after that other queen said, don't trust anyone. Yeah. And I was like,
and it was so sad because I knew something bad was going to happen as soon as she said that. And I'm like, oh, my whole heart is so sad.
And I felt terrible too, because then Valeris or whatever gets infiltrated by the King of Hybern, which.
And I mean, there was definitely damage, but I don't think there was
it wasn't substantial enough to
and she stayed and fought.
I love.
She's like, fuck you, Cassie. And
she went Super Saiyan and I loved it.
He's literally like, go home. She's like,
she's like, go suck a fart, thanks.
Go suck a fart.
Eat a bag of dicks, thanks.
She's like, better not.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm gonna go hang out in the art district where I belong.
Yeah, I'm gonna protect what I love.
Oh. And then my next thing was, yes, I mean, obviously they were in cahoots with Wyvern, but I'm curious though if that's how they got their power to winnow. And then I'm interested to see
that's really smart.
How they got the other that. I want to know what the aside from them wanting eternal youth and all that fucked up shit, because they're no longer queens at that point. They become Fae.
They're not mortal queens.
Yeah. So, what's the...
Unless they just use glamour.
Which then, what? Are they going to rule over the humans like the High Fae did to their people beforehand?
I think that's what the whole thing is. We'll make you Fae so you can be on our side of things and we can rule.
In the wise words of Elaine, they can all go to hell.
Yeah. I'm glad they finally... Well, Elaine kind of always was, but I feel... Well, we're going to get to that.
I wanted to talk about Feyre's power and how she taps into them. Let's discuss. Do we think they're done growing, or are we just seeing the start?
Just seeing the start.
And I think that too,
Well,
especially
she's just
after
learning how to
yeah,
use them.
and the whole thing where she like basically turned into pure sunshine, like
all of the
which makes
which is
100% sense that she would now be the High Lady of
Of
the Court of
Court of
Night.
Night. The high lady.
The High
Fuck you,
Lady.
Tamlin. There are high ladies. You're just a little bitch.
She's a little bitch.
No, bitch.
Thoughts on how she and Rhys are now equals. And the reason I wanted to say that specifically was not, and this was prior to the end of the book when I wrote this, because I wrote this in time with when the attack happens on Valeris.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how?
That's how I've said it.
Okay, perfect. Because I was thinking about it, like you read that thing where it's just like he is the most powerful
Well, and
being,
then
like the most powerful High Fae that's ever existed. So that means that she's his equal.
when when was that like I'm trying to replace the attack versus when she caught the surreal again? Because the surreal is like, why do you think you're not equal?
I think that
Like I can't remember the exact.
that happens,
'Cause
I
when
think,
did he get kidnapped?
when they found out that it's before.
It's before.
This actually might be in tandem with that, just because
Yeah.
the next thing that I say, no, it's
No, because
it's during
then
the attack
the
happens and then they leave
yeah.
because they have to go get the orb. No, they got the orb already because that's why the attack happened in the first place. Because the queen
showed
told
the
them where the
queen- yep.
location of it was.
I think they went and put the orb back,
Yeah.
and that's where Moore was, and that's maybe where he was because they were.
Yeah. And then
doing whatever.
where were they going? They were flying
Yeah.
somewhere. And it was after they went to
Maybe
the
they were just doing
Illyrian.
training.
No, because they went into hiding because they were
They were
their
doing the
movements
camp,
were
but
being
remember they
tracked.
kept moving. I think he got stolen like right after.
It had to have been right after the attack.
Yeah,
Because then she kidnapped the
surreal. I don't know.
the cereal. You're right.
Surreal. Yeah.
And that's when she found out what herb to use to fix him. And then she goes into hiding, and that's how she finds out about the mating bond and all that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, because my next line is literally finally some smut. So finally, like literally
like,
the end of this
And
book.
I said this in my Snapchats too. I was like, honestly, I liked how Sarah J. Maas did it, because in the first book, it was kind of just like, and then we made love.
It
And there was
flirty.
no like,
Yeah.
with her and
It was like
Tamlin, there was
Twilight
no, there was no like detail. Frog in my throat. There's no like details. It wasn't like
Wanna
down
put
to
it
the
in someone
nitty
else's
gritty. But then with Reese Ann, it was like it was like more detailed and more so.
yeah.
Because one of my things was for chapter 42. So obviously they're gonna fuck with his wings out.
Yep. And she like just plays with his wings, and then he eats her out on top of the table covered in paint. And I'm like,
I literally was like,
I don't have the body parts for that to happen for it, but I was like, I'll take what she's having. I will have what she's having.
No, I loved that whole when she.
That whole.
And I loved that more.
I love that she painted, and she put like, it wasn't actual like depictions of them minus their eyes, but like it was just like
It was just
the essence
of them. I just loved that more. Also, was like, no, fuck you. I'm not going to tell you. And she didn't.
Yeah.
He
found
was
her.
like, okay, there's really only one place that she's going to be.
Well, he was searching for her, and like,
Yeah.
he's like, I did process of elimination.
Yeah.
But following up prior to the smut scene, though, and back to the attack that happened on Valeris, though, let's talk about Amren's powers.
Yeah.
She like, there is a character in Twilight that does that too. The similar, like giving you the illusion, like they blind you with illusion. But it's just like the fact that she could hold off an entire swarm of the army by herself, standing on the ground, not
I
having to fly or anything. She's like, bitch, I got you.
She's like,
She's like, this is why I protect the city when all you bitches are
I've got
gone.
my half. So
Yeah. She's like, you guys get your quarters. I've got this half.
yeah, literally.
But that was one of the things, like, I am so interested to see what like her story is and what the remainder of her story is. Like, I want to know so much.
But then I'm also sad. I'm like, is she gonna leave? But now I don't know because the book.
I know. Well, no, they still have the book.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
have
I
the book.
forgot that he did.
Yeah,
It's
he
because they
brought it
were
back.
trying to take it, and she was
Correct.
like, sorry.
Yeah. As Cass and more, not the love triangle that we originally thought, but
Yes.
still interesting.
Because I had in here,
Because she's in love with
I was like, I
Az, but
love how
Az doesn't
protective
feel.
Andrew was more, and then I was like, ooh, this is why Cassian is hesitant, because she just kind of like used him
Yep.
to become impure.
Yeah. As a fuck you to her family, which I mean, we're
Which I get, yeah.
but like that story is so sad. Like listening to Moore's actual story and her backstory, it brings me back to listening to Lucian's and being like, oh, y'all came up from fucked up places. But, and then like the whole Court of Nightmares scene, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And especially like when Feyre was like, I'm just going to play my part.
Yeah.
But then she was like, edging for she was basically edging.
Yeah.
Like, she was edging. She was like, move your hand up just a little bit higher. And you're a little bit higher. And you're like, just a kick, just a little brush. Just a little brush.
And then she was like embarrassed because her body was doing what a body does. But then she moved and was like, oh, so is yours.
She's like, that's a happy accident.
What a lovely surprise.
It's a lot larger than I anticipated. Damn. Which brings me to the next love triangle-esque kind of thing, which now we're getting towards the end of the book. And I kind of... No, we're not.
Well, because we
We're
didn't
not yet.
talk before that. Their first hookup was actually in the little...
It was in the cabin after they decided that they were mates.
No, their first kind of hookup was at the little thing when they were in the attic. And it was raining and they ate their soup and they shared the bed.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's not when they decided to be mates.
Yes, because he said, if you're going to give me food, that means that you agreed to me being your mate.
That was at the painting cabin.
Yeah.
There's two different cabins. The Illyrian camp one, when they were out training, and they stayed in that little one. There was a bunch, it was like an inn.
Yeah, all he did was wrapped her up inside of his wings to keep her warm. They didn't kiss or do anything.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Because that's when she was like, I just want to have fun. I just need
because
a
she started
distraction.
playing with his wings, remember? And he said, I will. He stopped. He was like,
no, I know, but I think he fingered her.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right.
I know.
You're right.
I was like, did I make up a whole
right. I forgot.
scene?
I was too enveloped in the whole actual sex scene that I completely forgot about the finger banging.
But that was the first time because she was like, I just want to distract her. And then later he was like, well, if that's what you were going to give me, that's what I was going to take.
If that's all I can have, that's all I'll take. And that was when he was just like, when I do go down on you, it's going to be, I'm going to have my meal the way that I want to eat it.
Yes.
Daddy.
Jeez.
I am. But the interactions between Cassian and Nesta just like mounting and mounting and mounting, which obviously we know is going to turn into something because we have a little bit of spoilers. And honestly, y'all, these books have been out for years, so you probably have seen it.
Little
too.
Things.
Same, but
like TikTok,
watching it grow and like seeing things, especially towards the end of the book when everything's happening at the Hyberian court, like. We're not there yet, but it's just like that's one of the things I wrote down was literally just
keep standing
Nesta and Cass.
Well,
because I think it was during the conversation with the queens that Cassian kept on getting like closer and closer to Nesta.
Well, and then he was like, "I'll stand and I'll protect.
And I will protect you." Yeah.
And then I left friggin' Feyre. So, what do you thought? So very big.
You want to talk about
it's a little sister.
She's just like,
So, what do you think about Nesta? Because, she will never forget that.
She's going to remember that until the day she's dry. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Let me see what else I have. Because mine are just like comments too.
The next.
Oh, I did love that she's getting flashes of paintings with like darker stuff. Which, like, to me, it meant that she was, like, accepting the darkness, like, inside of her.
She was learning to heal, which is so important. And, like, the I think the approach to mental health in these books is actually like, it's nice because it's not like Twilight where we're just watching a montage of seasons passing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's working through the struggle, but she's also she's accepting things and she's tapping into herself and learning how to heal. And she's using the people around her to help her heal.
Yeah.
Um,
Who's Kier? Because I don't remember what I have in chapter 42. I hope he dies.
Here is Moore's dad.
Oh, yeah. I hope he dies.
In episode 8, we talked about how Reese's tattoos say he bows to no one or nothing but my crown. And Kelsey mentions he will bow to her, which is actually referenced when he's eating her out. Because she actually thinks that she's like, and he's on that knee.
On your knees, bitch.
Yep. What do we think about him keeping the mating bond from her? Yep.
I fully understand it. 1,000% I understand it. For everything she was going through,
He didn't want to add to it.
that, and I feel like he didn't want her to feel pressured to love him.
Yeah.
He wanted her to love him because she loved him, not because of this mating bond.
But I think that it's the thing that I find fascinating about it is that he knew instantly. He knew at the Fire Fest.
No, that's not when it hit. Hey, he thought he had a feeling. So this is what, and Mackenzie was like, remember when I told you she said I missed something in the end of the book?
Mm-hmm.
And the end of the last one, and he says this in this book too. It was when they were going under the mountain, and she like called him to like say thank you for everything, and they were going their separate ways. And he all of a sudden was like hit and
Yeah.
flew off. That's when it like clicked in. Like he's like, I always knew there was something, but it was like mating bond
Yes.
click in at that moment. It was like
Back to that whole like, I have an idea, but I don't want to
know
name it
you're
until
something.
I know for sure.
I'm like protective of you because he was protective the first day. So I think he knew there was like she was important, but then like he said when she.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because I completely understand it.
I do and I don't. I do for the like up into a point.
Yeah.
And like, especially after the 3-month hiatus of him not even trying to contact her, like, I get being chivalrous. I understand. But at the same time, like, after the first 2 interactions of her, like, coming back with him and, like, kind of showing a little bit of I mean, obviously at first it was not a softer side because she wasn't realizing her own feelings and what she felt and justification in the way that she was feeling. But, like, especially after learning how to read and write and after him supplying that for her and leaving her alone at moments of time just so that she could be by herself and in peace, like,
I'm just trying to like remember.
I feel like
when, like, I'm just trying to figure out when
I would have talked about it as after the Weaver. Because there was more trust there between the two of them.
I don't know. I
mean, I wouldn't have waited for the surreal to tell her.
That's definitely true. Well, and I would have maybe told her, and I think he was trying to after the night in the like.
Well, he said that he was thinking about doing it the night of the star thing.
He was thinking about the star thing, but then they went down, and then he was really thinking about it because they were doing their training at the Illyrian camp, and then stayed in that inn, and that's when
she was playing.
There was a finger, yes, like that's when the finger banging happened. Yep. And then the next day he was acting all weird because she said, I just want fun. I just want a distraction.
And he was probably in his head, he was like, me.
Well, I think that in his head, he probably was like, well, that's not true. Yeah. And it's because of this. But then that's when they got attacked.
I understand it. The justification behind his
because he was about to tell her right then and there. And the reason he got attacked was because he was distracted. Yeah. Wanting to tell her.
Like, it makes sense to me. I just, again, I feel like I'm also just personally, and you know this about me, I talk about everything as soon as it pops into my head.
I'm not saying I could have done that.
As soon as it pops into my head, the first thing I'm doing is talking about it.
As soon as I know. Also, he only told, I think, Amryn and Moore, and then the boys just figured, like...
They figured it out,
assumed.
Yeah.
But I would be telling all my friends.
She was like, everyone knew but me.
I see, and that's what I would be bad about. I'd be telling everyone except for the person.
Yeah. The next thing that I have is prediction. Oh, I talked about this earlier. What if the second part of the curse that we haven't found out about requires her to marry Tamlin to prevent... This is the first thought I have, is it's to prevent Amaranthia from coming back. Or perhaps a second part of the curse requires her to marry him to prevent him from going insane. Now we are at the part that I want to talk about most, which is at the cauldron.
I was screaming
The
in my
pure
head
rage I felt
when she put the fucking books together. First, I'm going step by step. When she put those books together, when everyone told her not to, I'm like, Feyre, you dumb ass bitch.
Yes and no. I can imagine like being overcome by a power that's bigger than yourself and just being like, oh, it's gonna be fine. But that's just like that goes back to what we've been told in the very first book, which is don't trust your senses.
Yeah.
So I agree, stupid, but I can get it.
Whatever.
And which is interesting because I am almost curious now if her powers are stronger because she's been connected by both. She was she was a conduit between the books and the cauldron at that point.
Yeah.
Because her nose was bleeding.
Right.
But as soon as, because I'm trying to go step by step with you.
No, we can go to when Tamlin.
When Tamlin walks out, the rage I felt, and that motherfucker still being like, come to me.
Come, my love.
I think that's when I took a break. I was like, oh, I need to put the book down.
I was on the plane and I know the person next to me probably was like, what? Because I was like, I think I audibly was like,
yeah. You know, a book is good when you are audibly making like reactions in real time while you're reading it. And the thing is like, I have to slow myself down because I start reading super fast and I skip over words and I had to like back and
get things. Right now, or I was using like the save the date from the wedding as my bookmark. So I just have to like block
line by line. Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's a really good idea. I should start doing that because
it's you go and you're like, fuck. So I knew I had to block.
So, and I'm already a fast reader.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I need to go back and reread this because I just need to I need to read each word and feel the impact of it.
It was insane.
When they pulled out the sisters, fucking
Ianthe. Oh, and I mean, this is skipping, but then skippings we know. When he just said, when they got back to the fucking spring court and he was like, and I'll have a talk with Ianthe. You'll have a talk? You'll have a talk? I'm going to kill that bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck you think is happening here.
It's funny too, because right after I read that, I saw like a TikTok or something like that. And it was just like a meme of a serial killer following another person. And it was Feyre and Ianthe. And I'm like, get it, girl.
Like,
I'm hoping that's what happens in the next book. And I hope she missed her.
Yes.
I would be okay with that.
I would totally be okay with that. And yeah,
before we jump too far.
Yep, we'll go back.
Something that two things happened after the sisters are pulled out of the cauldron. Mm-hmm. First, I think the mating bond between Cassian and Nesta went into place.
Kicked in for Cassian.
Nesta. I can't wait.
I
cannot wait because that finger points while she goes into the cauldron. I was like,
she is
really, you just cursed that motherfucker.
Fiery. For sure. Yeah, I think it probably clicked in for Cassian. I think Nesta, there was too much. She was too worried about Elaine. Yeah. She was,
But then Lucian.
I'm like, you better pull your motherfucking head out of your ass.
Which though,
now that
when Feyre makes that eye contact with him because he knows that she's lying at the end of the book. She's like, if you ever want to see my sister again, you'll keep your motherfucking mouth shut.
You better be kissing the ground I walk on because guess what? I am going to be in charge.
Because she's got a tally. She's got a burn book. She has
a list for sure.
I got a blank page, babe.
Blank space, baby.
Oh, I just reading, especially just I like read it again.
Yeah. I also just was like, of course, because it's a book. So obviously, but of course, all three sisters are fated to be with Faye.
Yeah. Not surprised by that at all.
No, and I was like, Lucian, you don't want to play it cool for 2 seconds? Dear Lord, picks her up. You're my mate. I just got turned into Faye. My day's been a little rough. and a little full. Maybe wait 2 minutes. But it was sweet that he like covered her up at least.
Trying to read specifically what happens with Nesta, but I'm trying to get, and that's when Elaine is thrown in.
I don't remember. Does it show the queens going into the cauldron or does it just say it?
It says it.
Oh,
It says they step up.
okay. I was like, ugh, maybe they'll die. Maybe they're not strong enough.
Put her under, the king hissed. The guards, straining, shove her slender shoulders, her brown gold head. And as they push her head down, she thrashed one last time, freeing her long, pale arm. Teeth bared, Nesta pointed one finger at the king of Hybern. One finger, a curse and a damning.
I think, see, when I got
A promise.
I was thinking she was doing this.
No.
She was like,
That.
I'll get you.
And as Nesta's head was forced under the water, as that hand was violently shoved down, the king of Hybern had the good sense to look somewhat unnerved. Dark water lapped for a moment. The surface went flat. I vomited on the floor. Feyre, I'm gonna need you to hold it together, girl. All you do is puke.
Okay, but like from somebody who used it.
She instead of like nervous peeing, she nervous vomits. Back to what we were saying before the technical difficulties. Sorry for the camera angle change, but here we are. Back to now I'm gonna have to find that page again, but I wanted to specifically read what happens with the
Yeah, you were at
like
the king looked unnerved.
Yeah. The surface went flat. I vomited on the floor. The guards at last let Rhysand kneel beside me in the growing pool of Cassian's blood, let him tuck me into him as the cauldron again tilted. Water poured forth. Back to him, hoisting Elaine in his arms and out of the way, the bonds on Tamlin vanished along with the gag. He was instantly on his feet, snarling at the king. Even the fist on my mind lightened to a mere caress, as if he knew he'd won. I didn't care, not as Nesta was sprawling upon the stones. I knew that she was different. From however Elaine had been made, Nesta was different. Even before she took her first breath, I felt it. As if the cauldron, in making her, had been forced to give more than it wanted. As if Nesta had fought even after she went under, and had decided that if she was to be dragged into hell, she was taking the cauldron with her. As if the finger she'd pointed was now a death promise to the king of Hybern.
Hell yeah.
And then Nesta took a breath, and when I beheld my sister with her somehow magnifying beauty, her ears, when Nesta looked at me, rage, power, cunning, then it was gone. And I'm like, ooh, I can't wait until she taps into that shit.
No.
It's gonna be so
So with the three sisters just taking on the world.
It's the charmed ones.
Yeah.
The source of all evil is done for. Womp womp. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like sad for a minute because she was smart and she did whatever.
But the thing, and I think that this is what makes sense. So I think that when you are fated to fall in love with another being in these kinds of books, another being, you both hold some kind of similarity.
Mm-hmm.
And where another being, Sand is super quick thinking and cunning, I think Feyre is too when she puts her mind to it.
Yep.
And she knew, and
she has to.
Yeah. When push comes to shove. And I think what happened in that moment is that she's like, how do I get out of this and how do I make this work? And she's like,
I get out of this. It was, how do I get my sisters
and the people I love
safe?
Yeah.
Well, because I think she knew
because she wasn't just thinking about her sisters. She was thinking of Rhysand and Cassian.
It's her too. Yeah. She was like
the new chosen family that she had.
Yeah. Just in her mind, get my people out.
And she even sends that psychically.
She's like, I don't
take my sisters.
It was already out of the bond. We know after
that there was another bond.
Another bond. That's the mating bond.
Yep.
And that it just took away her tattoo. And then she's like,
another being.
Only taken off my other.
Which she's now going to have to glamour forever.
Well, not forever.
Well, I mean, just if she ever has to take a glove off. Because I feel like she's probably not going to be allowed to keep her gloves on.
Well, I think she'll just have to, glamour while she's in the spring court.
Yeah.
Which I don't think will last long.
Another being. It looks like we have an entire book of it.
I don't think she's going to be in the spring court that whole book.
Another being. I don't think that the interaction, well, I've been wrong previously, so who knows, but I don't know if the war with Hybern is going to happen, but it's possible in the next book.
I think
another being.
It'll be this book. I don't know if there'll necessarily be like a war, or if it will just be like killing the king.
But then there's all of his minions that we have to watch out.
But I think that if they killed the king and maybe like the Adder and Jorian and the queens.
Yeah, which Jorian coming back.
I think if you killed those people,
another being.
People were just doing it because that person was in power.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they're still gonna. I mean, who knows what the dynamic's gonna be? But I am hoping that Feyre can like unite the other courts.
Yeah.
Especially even the summer court, who another being I gave a big fuck you to, but she had to do what she had to do.
I have to do it. Yeah, I gotta do it.
Not only that, but she's also now probably the most powerful being there next to Nesta. Because that girl is.
And Rhysand, but just because I feel like Rhysand has a better control of his power right now.
I also wonder though, like so another being fantasy books.
When you get their power, they like share power. Yeah.
Well, and I also like the fact, like I said, she was a conduit between both powerful entities. And then that also makes me think like, is she as powerful as Amryn now? Another being. Amryn is just a god trapped in a.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think so, because I think Amryn's just a whole nother level. I'm interested though because
another being.
Tamlin knows nothing about what she can do, and like Lucien, I don't know.
Probably
Lucien knows a little bit because
he saw her shapeshift because she had the wings.
Yes,
to scare him away.
And if Lucien said anything when she went into Lucien's mind, for like that half a second, but yeah, I'm interested to see how she uses her powers in the spring court to get the information she wants. And also, I'm like, how far is she going to have to push this love for Tamlin? Because when that's what I'm saying. At first, they were doing it all over.
That's all they were doing.
All they were doing. Yeah.
They were like, let our bodies.
But I wonder if maybe she'll play like, I
need to be alone.
I just have to try. And they have separate rooms. They don't even have the same rooms. Yeah. Like, I'm interested to see. But
everything that he didn't want her to be is what he wants for her. He wants to breed her. He wants to keep her to himself, all that stuff. Which I do like that they mentioned that at one point in the book, and it's the same thing that I had mentioned before, which is that it's that situation where you fear so much that you become poisoned by it.
Yeah.
And you become a poisonous being from it. And like, obviously, my feelings for Tamlin have completely changed now. Fuck that guy.
Yes. Fuck Tampon.
I honestly do want her to miss somebody, whether it be Ianthe or like, that's all I want to see is just like full on like
Ianthe better die. I just hate her so much because like at least Tamlin,
I want her
stopped. Like, yeah,
to tear her apart.
Tamlin, like, stopped at one point. Like, he didn't give up her sisters, but Ianthe did.
Yeah, which means that Ianthe's been working for the King of Hyberian the entire time.
Yep. So there's got to be something with, and maybe it was just to make more powerful High Fae with Feyre and Tamlin, because she was pushing it so hard.
Yeah.
And like pushing Feyre.
Maybe she has an idea of what happened when she got like resurrected, and that's why Ianthe's just like, no, you have to marry her, you have to mate her because she's going to be the most powerful thing on earth.
Yeah. Well, and we did learn that like the other priestesses are fine. It was just Ianthe.
It's Ianthe. That's a piece of garbage.
Fucking twat.
You don't have to look at that camera.
I forgot. I don't want to look at that camera.
Yeah. I know, I'm so mad. So just so that everyone gets an idea of what happened, my actual camera that I've been recording with, it died, even though I checked it before Kelsey came over to make sure that it was fully charged. So maybe it was Ghost.
Probably.
Totally.
Bartholomew?
Yeah. Is that the New England ghost guy?
I don't know. That's just what I named Mango.
Oh, there's a guy on TikTok from New England that talks about a pilgrim ghost named Bartholomew. So I was like, wait, what?
I just thought that Bartholomew was a really good ghost name, so I
Yeah,
named
Puritan name.
I named him Bartholomew.
What are we at? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay.
My giraffe is Jeffrey, but with like a G.
So we're about an hour. Let's just look through. I can edit out if this takes too.
See what I have. 8 funny notes.
Mm.
Oh, because at one point I put Azrael and Elaine
See,
because I feel like
he was becoming, but he just looks like a human shield. Like I feel
think that Feyre was kind of like, I could see them together.
Yeah.
Because she was just trying to see.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about Tamlin killed Reese's mom and sister. And that's why the Night Court killed Tamlin's family.
And he tried to save
Tamlin's life.
Saved him. Well, we knew that. I mean, this is all a part of the whole like collective reason why Tamlin's just a piece of garbage, though, because he's been from the get-go.
Yep.
Which makes me curious, especially with this next. The reason I want to read this next book is because I want to know how much he's been keeping from her.
Yeah.
And how much his lies have been twisting. Because the first thing that we learn is that fairies can lie, and
Yep.
proof of it with Tamlin. But do you think there's still any redemption left in Lucian?
Yes.
Elaborate.
If Lucian pulls his head out of his ass
And
this book keeps Feyre's secret, not only keeps her secret, but realizes that Tamlin is not the Tamlin that he knew anymore and that saved him. He's become a whole different person.
Not only that, but why would you want to go back to the old ways when the old ways were not working?
And I think, so I think if Lucian maybe helps
It's
her.
very telling of the times, by the way.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think there's some redemption left in Lucian, and I'm interested to see how that pans out. Like whether he's going to be just like separatist, where he's like, I'm not going to interact with you because if I interact with you, I feel like I'm betraying my best friend. Or if he's going to be like, I'm going to try and support you in any way that I can without
my future sister-in-law.
Before I can get discovered.
Yeah.
So that I can get with my mate.
I think that he'll push back a lot more, especially after their meeting in like the forest or whatever. Which he was like, you saw me. You saw how hurt I was. And Lucian, you did nothing. You saw. I told you and you did nothing. And he's like,
for help and you did nothing.
Yeah. And he was going, I know. I just, I don't know. Blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like a lot of ex-boyfriends. I think, what was I going to say?
I did love the Starfall, though.
I did too. A lot more than I liked the
Firefest?
No, the Solstice one.
Oh, yeah. And much better than Firefest. Because
yeah, Firefest was just a fuck fest. That's all it was. Which I'm interested, who did he sleep with? Who did Tamlin sleep with?
Ooh, yeah.
Because it came by again. Calumet came by again. So I'm interested. I'm curious as to what maiden he bedded for the evening. Oh, man.
Or if he even did it because he was too focused, even though she was like, hey, bro, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
It just, I don't know. I enjoy this book because it wasn't what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, I originally, especially because the first book introduced Tamlin in such a quasi-positive light, I definitely thought that he had some redemption in him, but after obviously the end of this book, I don't believe that whatsoever anymore. But the twist that she's mated with Rhysand, which, I mean, as soon as she described him in the first book, I was like, why wouldn't you be? But tall, dark, and mysterious and covered in night. Tall, yes. Yes, and tells me when I want to, I will eat my dinner my way. I will put a cherry in. Yeah.
Do what I want. Supports me.
I will eat whatever fruit you want me to eat that day. Like, sir.
Pineapple.
All day.
Even though my mouth is with my mouth is gonna be fuck.
My tongue's going to be burnt from all the citric acid, but we'll do what we have to do. In the next book, and this is just solely based off of the conversation that we had earlier about how there's like the book after the next book is so small and is kind of just like a novella, like you said. And then the final book is told from somebody else's perspective. I think
she's writing another one. And it's supposed to come out next year.
I did see something on TikTok about that where she's like, potentially. It's almost like, but I'm just hoping this doesn't get the same treatment as a lot of other books where they're like, we're going to do it the entire series now from somebody else's perspective. I don't need that.
They did that with the Touch of Darkness series. It was like Persephone's, then Hades, Persephone's, Hades. And then the last book, or maybe there was 3 of each of theirs. And then the last book was like 4 different POVs mixed in one.
There is like a queer.
I'm gonna watch Touch of Darkness. Loved the series up until the last book. Like I even liked seeing Hades' point of view, but the last book was just trash. It was, this is your like first smut, huh?
This is my first smut, yeah. I don't know, actually. There is a queer book that I read about werewolves that I'm pretty sure was gay smut.
I feel like, yeah.
But like, it's interesting from what you're saying though, because there's like, I think there's 3 books in the whole series specifically for that one. The next book is told from somebody else's perspective prior to when the first book takes place.
Oh, no. So this was like, she would write hers and then his and then hers and then I just read all hers and then read all his. And then the last book was both of theirs. But the last book, it was too much smut. There were so many different things that needed to be wrapped up in the book. And I was like, wow, we've literally had 3 chapters that are only
sex.
And we haven't moved the story along. And some of them wasn't even like, it was like dream sex.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, like one of the things that I'm fearful of, especially when I'm writing, is that I'm always trying to make sure like you want to encapsulate an entire intimate scene.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to take up an entire fucking chapter.
No. It's like there's a balance.
Yeah. Like I'm about to, so.
We're waiting for it.
A book and a half for the next one. But like. Tomato soup if you want, Sam.
Why?
Why not?
I keep looking at
I know it's not even on. It's not even on. One of the things that I'm worried about, like, especially because I'm in the middle of writing something myself right now, is that I want to, like I said, encapsulate that whole thing. But I'm afraid that I don't want to take it too far. Like, I don't want it to be too graphic, but I also want it to like be good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see when we get there. So I can understand the chaos of it. But I think this episode has gone long enough. How about you? Do you have anything to add on A Court of Mist and Fury?
Loved it. I liked this one better than I liked.
Which I hear a lot of.
Yeah.
And like other people I've talked to said that they like this one.
The 2nd and the 5th are what I've been told are the best books of the series. And the 5th is from a different point of view. And like I said, I think it's Cassian and Nesta's.
Which will be interesting because it looks like it's the biggest one out of all of them.
Oh.
So what we're going to try and do with the next book is we're going to try and break it up into 4 episodes, which means that we will be reading the first 175 pages.
Are we sure that's like a chapter?
It's not.
Then I think we should read until either right before, because I don't want to stop in the middle of a chapter. I feel like that's ridiculous. You know?
It called self-control. I was like, where?
I have self-control when I stop reading at the chapter I'm supposed to stop at.
From a chapter to a...
What if it's like in the middle of a sentence?
That would never happen.
What are you talking about?
I don't think that would happen right in the middle of a sentence. I mean, obviously you could.
Sentences go on to another page all the time.
Obviously, you could end up finishing.
But I think we should just.
Okay. The first set of chapters we are reading is up to chapter 18.
Okay, so 1 through 17.
Yes, through
Which
17.
will be page
183.
Okay. It's less than 10 pages more. And you calm down.
No, you calm down. So, we are going to read the first 17 chapters of A Court of Wings and Ruin for our next episode and the next installment of BK Book Club, which, funny enough, we are starting a new book on our 10th episode.
Look at us.
Look at us, 10 episodes deep. And we have 11 followers. I love that you pointed to the camera that's still off. So with that,
It's out of habit.
it is.
I feel like
I'd rather you. I
June
like
from
that
The
habit,
Office that I look at the camera.
I like that. I'd rather you keep that up so that when we are consistently doing it, you're not trying to show stuff to that microphone by accident like you have before.
I don't feel like that was necessary.
So catch us next time, episode 10.
Catch us up on side, motherfucker.
First 17 chapters of A Court of Wings and Ruin, which I might actually still start tonight anyway, just because I want to fucking know what happens. But it's already 10 o'clock. So
Sorry.
I'm going to take an edible, and then when it hits, I'll stop reading.
There you go.
But yeah.
Maybe I'll take an edible when I get home.
Do you want one of mine before you leave? It's sativa, though. Does that bother you?
Oh, I'm surprised you do sativa when you're going to sleep.
Any weed puts me to sleep.
Oh.
It doesn't matter if it's indica or sativa.
No, I'll just smoke a bowl when I get home.
There you go. That's perfect.
Because sativa does make me a little bit more an indica.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but I can take, to be fair, I also drink a Red Bull, so, and I'm like, it's 10 o'clock, it's time for bed.
Time for bed.
But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for reading A Court of Mist and Fury with us, or listening to us ramble about it at least.
Yeah.
We appreciate you and all that you do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share.
Your friends' socials. Yeah.
Follow us on social. There is a link tree inside of our profile that you can get to all of our socials with. And also, don't forget to turn on alerts. That way you know when we're posting things and you can see them as soon as they go live. But feel free to share with your friends. And we love book recommendations. We got our first one from my friend Hillary. Thank you. Shout out to Hillary. Which we might look into. And then there's also another series that we're probably going to look into.
Which is in the same
universe
world as this. I think what is Throne of Glass? No, this is Court, so Throne of Glass. I think it's at the beginnings usually.
No, I think the pictures of them are right here.
Oh, the pictures. Yeah, a Throne of Glass series.
Yeah, and then there's the Crescent City series.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was so many Throne of Glass.
There's 8 books in total.
Hey.
Yeah, A Court of Frost and Starlight is the small one.
And then what's the last one called?
Silver Flame.
Oh.
Which something that I'm noticing too with the covers specifically with these types of covers, there is like indication of something like a key element to the book. Like that's Rasanne's ring.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering what this dagger has to do, which I'm sure we'll figure out. But because that's the tattoo that the Night Court has. But
yeah, my cover for this had Feyre.
Yeah, you could see her tattoo on her arm, but
I didn't bring it with me. I have to return it. Return tomorrow, pick up tomorrow, work at noon.
Ready to drop off a stick. He does some stickers at work too. I did at the office yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're BK Book Club.
Whoop whoop.
Thanks for watching.